What is going on, Ryan?
Oh
Do you know
my
we're
God.
doing a
I
podcast?
honestly am suffering from Zoom fatigue here today. I've had two interviews,
Oh,
multiple meetings. I think I just fell asleep, but what's going on? Uh, hey, everybody. I'm Ryan Schefke, and I am the host of the Event Squadcast. We were obviously just having some fun there. But this is a podcast for professionals who want to keep up with the latest trends in the events industry, best practices, and headlines in the market. So, super excited to have my co host Brad here, who also maybe has a little Zoom fatigue today. I don't know.
oh, definitely. Yeah, I've been trying to get over this chair I'm sitting in hours and hours on end. Yeah, Brad Froese co-hosting here, and let's get right to it, man. I am excited to announce our guests. And I know a little bit about Erik. From what I understand from the artwork we see on the back wall there, he likes the Millennium Falcon, so there might be a Star Wars angle there. But what I know about Erik for sure is that he is Bizzabo's senior social media manager, and he's made his career basically exploring new ways to connect people, improve productivity through digital channels and new tech. And in addition to hosting Bizzabo's Event Experience podcast, he's the producer and host of the long running podcast Beyond the To Do List. Erik, welcome to Event Squadcast. How is it going today?
It's going great. Thank you so much for having me. This is going to be fun.
Absolutely.
Very good, Erik. Thanks again for joining. So, I like to begin and help our listeners understand who you are and here's something a little fun about you. So, rumor has it you love karaoke and you like singing. And hey, with that beautiful mic you've got there, I'm not surprised. But tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So my mom growing up, I thought she was Julie Andrews, and I apparently inherited that voice. Now I'm a male and I've got a much deeper voice, but like I learned it from her. I've got an innate musical ability. I'm actually trying to learn some instruments as well, but voice has always been kind of the thing. I don't do it publicly that often, but when I do, it's for fun. It's not professional. So
So do you like karaoke? Because honestly, I see the karaoke thing and I don't mind public speaking, but I am not a good singer. My whole family will tell you that. And I would never do karaoke.
That's not what your wife says.
Yeah.
well, I mean, the beauty of karaoke is you don't have to be good at karaoke. So
All
that's
right.
kind of the caveat.
So, Erik, before we dive into business and talking about our topic, which is Zoom fatigue today, I'm going to put you on the spot. You got to sing us a quick note.
All right, let's see here. So, one of my favorite things is Frank Sinatra. So let's see. My
Yeah.
son gets a kick out of when the first time he heard "I've Got You Under My Skin." He was like, "Ew, what is you're under my skin?" So, uh, I've got you under my skin. I've got you deep in
Woohoo.
the heart of me, so deep in my
Yes.
heart that
Woo.
you're really a part of me. I've
Love
got
it.
you under my skin. There you go.
Beautiful.
No, on
Yes.
Very
the spot,
good.
no practice. There
Doing
you
it your way and doing it great.
All
Yes,
right. Where is the Bizzabo platform so we can add the clapping?
right there, right there.
Oh, Erik, that was
Very good. Very
awesome.
good.
That was very good. Thanks for doing that and for letting me put you on the spot. So, let's dive into the topic at hand today. So, the topic is combating Zoom fatigue. So, let's begin, Erik, by uh, defining Zoom fatigue. I feel it's a little bit of a misnomer, but what would you say Zoom fatigue is?
Well, it's a real thing. It's not just a fancy word for I'm bored with being on all these meetings all day long. I mean that is what, and in fact, that's what a lot of people refer to when they are referring to the term Zoom fatigue. It's like I
Mhm.
have fatigue from online meetings. That's not necessarily what it is, and yet inadvertently they are probably also correct in that they have been on too many meetings, and there are reasons why it's causing them to have headaches and all the other symptoms that come along with it, and it's because when it comes to Zoom fatigue or when it comes to screens and excessive amounts of them, We're
Mhm.
doing like we're doing right now, and this isn't excessive, but it comes from excessive amounts of close up eye contact that's highly intense. I mean, that's what we're doing when we're on these calls is we are looking at people's eyes.
Mhm.
Often they're not looking at us, they're looking at the screen. Like I'm looking at the screen, not the camera. Like we always direct people look at the camera when you're speaking to people. But even when you are looking at the camera, it's that eye contact that's constant and excessive that psychologically drains you. That's just
So
one of the
are
factors.
so are you telling me then that it's okay for people to go on their smartphones and spend half the day on their smartphone to alleviate, the eye-to-eye contact? They can just go watch TikTok and Instagram all day and they're good with that? Because
Well,
that's opposite of what I think we should be pushing, right?
yeah, I would say that's not necessarily the solution because there are other factors involved when that the mobile device does not alleviate, which is either
More
seeing
screen time.
yourself on a
Mhm.
video chat or um, again, when you're on a video chat, we're normally sitting, although not all of us here are sitting. That's one of the ways to combat it. But also the cognitive load when it comes to video chats is so much higher because we're not just doing regular face-to-face interaction. We're doing all those things that have to do with it, which is nonverbal communication and looking for those cues and those gestures and the nonverbal cues, in other words, that make up a lot of communication. It takes a lot more effort to one, pay attention to them, and two, discern them in a 2D screen versus a 3D world.
You just mentioned that 2D versus 3D. I'm kind of comparing, if three of us we're at a table, right? I might be looking at you, for example, if you're talking and we're engaging, but Brad might be off to the corner. And think about a bigger meeting, scale that up a little bit, 8 to 10 people. If you're in a boardroom, you're all kind of spread out. You don't have all the eyeballs on you, but I like how you put that because a 2D environment, it's a flat screen. You both are staring right at me. I'm staring right at you, so you've got, imagine again, larger meetings, events, large team meetings. It can be intimidating and stressful, I think, which lends to the Zoom fatigue problem with all of the eyeballs on you at once on that 2D screen, right? I don't want to leapfrog too far into the future here, but do you see platforms maybe like creating a more 3D kind of environment? I'm not talking about the make it a game, have fun, kind of gamify it. Everybody turns into a bot. You're walking around the event, but to kind of add the event industry into it, do you see like simulating a round table and making it a little more human there?
Well, I mean, we've seen examples of that from Meta and some of the things that they've talked about in terms of the metaverse, and I think that's definitely. I mean, I have one. I have an Oculus. I don't have a Meta device. I have an Oculus. I'm going to
Yeah,
remain calling it that. But
same.
and a friend of mine and I, we literally can watch a movie together. He's in Texas, and I'm here in Indiana, and we can both put our Oculus headsets on, watch a movie together in a theater and turn and look, and the perception is that physicality, that space and ambiance is there. I can't help but think that Facebook, sorry, Meta, as big as they are, Facebook still exists, but Meta as big as they are, has brought a broader, more mainstream, or at least started to awareness to this aspect of digital augmenting in person and physical. We're not there yet, but we will get there. I mean, we're
Mhm.
moving. And if anything, they've turned the dial up or accelerated attention in that area.
Yeah, I mean, not I've spoken to a lot of virtual event companies, and people like we're looking to hire somebody, and like I said, I had a couple interviews today, but one guy I talked to said, "Oh, we thought we were building this great virtual platform, but it was just a glorified Zoom meeting, and so
Mhm.
I think we're kind of there, but I do see things evolving. And by the way, Erik, I'm going to call you out. You said you're not a gamer because I asked about your chair, but then you have an Oculus. What's going on? All right.
Well, okay, so the Oculus is less of
Caught.
a gaming system and more of a uh, home digital workout theater tool. I don't know. I don't know.
That's a
It is
great
what it
way
is.
to put it.
Sure.
I'm a slight gamer. My son is way more than me. So
You know, you mentioned something really interesting to me that I never even thought of too, and with regard to Zoom fatigue, and that is eye contact. You know, you're forced to stare at a person's face the entire time. There's not a lot of other area where you can put your attention. I remember in a networking meeting, and even in person, where they asked everybody to get in teams of two and stare into each other's eyes for 5 minutes straight. And it was excruciatingly painful. You just wanted to look somewhere else, you know? So again, what other kind of things define that problem?
yeah, well, I mean, as far as I mean, again, Zoom fatigue, which we'll just keep calling it that, but basically screens without breaks.
Mhm.
Uh, I think ultimately it comes down to we are using our brains and our senses in ways that we weren't originally designed to use them, and we've got to adapt now to that. And that's not to say there's anything wrong with that. And by the way, I want to go back to the comment I made earlier where a lot of people will use the phrase Zoom fatigue as an excuse for I'm in too many bad meetings. Let's
Mhm.
go back to that and say they may not be wrong. And even aside from the psychological and um, physiological and basically interactive with the technology issues that we were just addressing, they're not wrong. One of the reasons that you are so with those issues as well as a bad meeting, like that goes south quick, right? So not only is it back to back to back bad meetings, then throw those physiological and psychological aspects on top of it, and you can feel more drained from remote work or hybrid work than you did working in an office.
Well, let's talk about hybrid for a second. You know, very easy to say the word hybrid, two syllables, rolls off the tongue really easy. Two facets, the in-person and the digital, right? But hybrid isn't necessarily an easy thing to execute as an event organizer or an exhibitor. You know, in the past 5 or 6 months, we've seen in-person shows coming back online. You see social media feeds full of images of people in person events, setting up booths, getting together in person, commenting on how great it is to be back together again for various reasons, human interaction, the ability to be seen and heard on the show floor, an immersive environment, etc. Let's take a look at the digital side of hybrid for a few minutes, Erik. How can event organizers minimize Zoom fatigue on the digital side?
Yeah. So it's all about the engagement. It's all about it's about getting them engaged first off, and then keeping them engaged. And it's not just about keeping them engaged, it's about having meaningful engagement. And I don't think a lot of people think of that. They think of, oh, this is fun, this is interesting, this is good, this is engaging, but they don't consider certain things like, say, learning style, right? Where certain people are visual learners, certain people read, certain people listen. I'm a huge podcast listener. That's really where my sweet spot is. Um, but give people that are registering for your event an option so they can indicate how they learn best. And right there, you've got some data to then tailor an experience
Well,
best
that's
for
good.
them.
Mhm.
I did sign up for the event experience, event
Great.
that's coming
Great.
up, and I think some of our tech might be in that, so to help with these things. But yeah, I did in the registration process. So I think that new from Bizzabo, where you're maybe asking how I want to learn, and then you're trying to adapt and inside Bizzabo.
Yeah, yeah, it's one of the things that we've been just starting to roll out slash hint at slash announce things that we have had and or are working on and integrating into the system right now and into the operating system. And it's so exciting to see one that it's happening because I've attended so many events online, virtually, as well as in person, and just the lack of engage even in-person events have engagement issues. We can address that too. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's interesting to me. And one, one, I'm proud, and two, excited to see this roll out and to have that view and intention behind not just engagement, but meaningful engagement.
So go deeper on that. We'll stay on Brad's topic, and
Sure.
what does meaningful engagement mean to Bizzabo, or what you feel you've learned in the marketplace.
Well, I think the key here is again, meaningful engagement means allowing an attendee to express themselves in a virtual environment in the same way that they would do in an in-person environment. So think about that for a second. Someone's speaking, they make a great point, they're definitely firing on all cylinders. They say something profound and tweetable, and one, it gets tweeted, but two, in the in-person room and venue, there's a noise, and that noise is either audible gasps, oh my gosh, you're so profound, but most of the time it's in the form of clapping. And
Mhm.
so when they feel inspired, when they feel delighted by a speaker, being able to do that virtually is one of the things that we've been working on for a while. And we drink our own champagne, so we're doing our virtual meetings at Bizzabo in that, and we get to live with that and clap virtually, and other reactions, by the way, coming uh, for speakers. And at first I thought, oh, is this just a gimmick? But again, it addresses one of the psychological things to give feedback, to be not just present, but interactive in a meaningful way when something is happening, enjoyable or again, delightful on screen.
So what are some of the reactions? Can you boo people? Can you throw cans or something, or tomatoes? What?
Tomatoes, yeah. Well, I mean, the tomatoes would have like a smacking sound on it's there's a lot of different variations. The clapping is the first and foremost one. I'm going to tease it that you're going to have to join a Bizzabo event to see some of the other options that we have for you there. But clapping is the most, I mean, come on, clapping is the most profound one. And here's the thing, the more people that are clapping in the audience, the more roaring of an applause that comes across, and you even have some woohoo like peppered in there in different places. It's first time I heard it, I was like, what? And I was like, oh wow, that's cool. I love this. This is great.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Very neat. And I know it's public, but I know Bizzabo acquired Whalebone, who gave you the foundation to create all of that. So, and Captello is a partner to Bizzabo, so I'm very confident we'll be part of more meetings to see what's forthcoming on that. So I think that's all really exciting. How about outside of allowing attendees and participants to express themselves, and tying this back into a typical meeting? Meetings, I think, where you get that fatigue is, like you said, if you have a bad meeting, and they might be boring. So what are the other ways that, for an organizer listening or watching this podcast, they want to make the event more engaging? How can they do that outside of enabling the attendee? What is it that they can do to make it fun, make it exciting? What is it to not make it boring?
Well, on the side of the planning of the event, one of the biggest things, and again, this goes back to bad meetings or avoiding them, is to have somebody who is a high energy host, that they are engaging. You can't help you, like I can't take my eyes off this person, even if that means more Zoom fatigue. You can't help but do it. You want it. And I know that goes against combating Zoom fatigue, but I get it. But that this person is a high energy host, and they're inspiring. They're bringing that customer, that attendee, that audience along, say, a journey throughout the event, whether they're just the MC or they're a keynoter, or I mean, this goes across your entire speaking lineup. But
Mm-hmm.
again, very much along the lines of somebody who is a high energy host. Think about that for a second. Even someone, say, like Tim Cook, who's a bit subdued and reserved, though jovial, in his Apple keynotes, passes it along to somebody else who's like, Craig Federighi gets up on stage, and he's just joking around, and he's like having a fun time. And because they're alternating between and selling this like story, Apple's really good at this, even
Mm-hmm.
minus, post Steve Jobs time, like they have a really good flow where you want to sit and watch the whole hour and a half keynote. So
Mhm.
there's definitely some lessons to be learned from that.
Yeah, Brad is our high energy, good looking guy. So
Oh
everybody's
yeah,
watching
definitely.
this. They haven't even looked at you and I, Eric. So
Yeah,
yeah,
cool to hear that. You talked about how your Bizzabo team members are actually kind of leading the front here on, this interaction and things. Tell me a little bit about the culture and how the team really works together to define the future of events.
Well, we've got 8 values. One of them is better together, and that is believing that we can do amazing things. One of the we have a value of the year, which I'll go to that in a second, but it's achievable. All things are achievable, even amazing things beyond what we're capable of individually by working together and being better together. The other one is we choose excellence. That's the value for the year. And so that's just a leveling up. Is like you question not just yourself, but your team and your cohorts and your coworkers. We choose excellence. What does that look like? And aiming higher than you were already aiming. So, and that's just 2 of the values. We've got 8. I'm not going to go through all 8, but I will say those 8 values were what sold me on Bizzabo as an amazing company before I was even in. So,
Interesting. So those relationships and those goals together help to drive the company forward to define its mission and fulfill its mission. Um, I want to spin that and talk a little bit about partnerships and the Bizzabo App Store. Tell us a little bit about what is the App Store and why was it created?
yeah, so the Bizzabo app market as it's rolling out is essentially a marketplace that gives event producers and event leaders a variety of options. They've got a variety of vendors and it's all in one place. We're molding this place for third party resources that will address, customer needs and expand our customer base because that's what we want to do, obviously. And it's built on the core of Bizzabo's event operating system. And it's going to be an ecosystem where developers, third party partners like Captello and others, can come in and support the variety of events because every event essentially is unique and have different needs, different goals, different themes. And so it requires different solutions every time. And so you want to have that trusted and vetted safe place to go for a variety of options all in one place.
we're
Ryan, so
we're excited to see the marketplace and see the kind of different solutions that are added to it. Are there any that might extend what we're talking about, the topic, right? So, for example, reactions, custom reactions or things that organizers could do to alleviate Zoom fatigue. Again, not getting too far away from our topic.
Well, it's still been in early stages, and admittedly, I personally have not jumped in myself a lot on the app, um, the Bizbo app market. But from
Mhm.
what I have seen in the decks preparing for its coming and its rollout and all of that, it's been exciting to see. And that's about all I can say, other than like we're talking with you, Captello, and it's going to be exciting to see how we can integrate with you. And we've had a great time doing that so far.
Yeah, we're pumped. Yep, lots of really cool things. What to comment on it. One thing we are helping with Bizzabo, right, to provide solutions is to help drive more engagement by helping to gamify, right, to create a little more exciting experience. Again, to keep people awake. So, we've all been in the meetings. When somebody's might be talking and they're talking for 30 minutes, an hour, and you're just doing nothing. So what can you do to get the attendees, get the people more drawn in, to get them to take action and do certain behaviors that you might want them to do, all to avoid a Zoom fatigue scenario, right? So yeah, we're super pumped to be part of it. I have to ask this question because I'm curious about how Bizzabo as a company kind of runs their meetings. So you mentioned you're doing it on the Bizzabo platform, but we have our own meetings, and admittedly, we do it on Zoom. And, we have team members that don't turn on their camera, which I get. That's a recommendation. Sometimes you go off camera, but then you have the people that never go on camera and you're like, why are you not going on camera? So I'm curious, does your leadership say, hey, this is mandatory, you all need to be on camera? What's your culture like there? And what do you think is a best practice for that? Because I always kind of go back and forth. Like, is it my position to tell somebody you need to be on camera, or is that more of a personal decision,
Well, the Bizzabo focus is human, not just more human events, but being human. In other words, and I've even heard Alon Alroy, one of our CEOs and co-founders, say, or not CEO, he's chief marketing officer. He literally, I saw him face to face say this, that you're a human first, and then I forget the rest. You're a Bizzabo, you're a Bizzabo, like down the line. Bizzaboer is the term. But you're human first. You're human. And so you approach interactivity, collaboration, and communication from a human perspective. Yeah, we could say, okay, every meeting you must have camera on the entire time. It's more about, like, I've been in meetings where it's been great to be able to have to know and see somebody else has the freedom to sit and eat in that meeting with their camera off, but they say so in the chat. Hey, I'm here, I'm listening, just grabbing a quick bite, and I will jump in as I need to. Like, it's completely contextual, as it should be. It's based on time of day, because we're talking with different people in different time zones. So, you can't just say, oh, well, your lunchtime is this time and so on. And that's just one variable.
Right.
But I mean, for the most part, we've all got our cameras on, and occasionally we turn them off and turn them back on, and different things. No one, in other words, no one's getting bent out of shape. There's no protocol to have official, like, camera on all the time. It's, you just be human, proactive, communicate, be real.
Yeah, I think that's what the pandemic and this new work environment and these platforms like Bizzabo has really helped us too, is I think be more flexible. I mean, I remember I was doing a webinar, I was a speaker, and this was maybe 2.5 years ago, pre-pandemic, and my dog barked and I freaked out, Now I'm just like, oh, sorry, that's my dog, hush. I mean, it's okay, it's acceptable. And like you're saying, I think to alleviate that fatigue, maybe being able to switch. Like, I was in a meeting this morning and Brad was in the meeting and he went from his computer to his phone and he transitioned, and having that flexibility, being able to change your environment, switch devices, to do that seamlessly. That's part of the flexibility. And we all have that understanding that that's okay, I think, to do. And that's encouraging for me as the CEO of our company, so that, I am more flexible there, because I agree. These are humans first, right? If you don't appreciate them and understand that, they won't be teammates or employees, so.
Yeah. And I wish that I could remember. I wasn't thinking about this phraseology. I literally screenshotted it, as well as took a picture with my phone in person when I saw and heard it. Just don't have it in front of me to remember. But the important pieces to remember is that the piece that is first, which is being human.
Yeah. Well, that is a great note to end on, I think. Brad, was there anything else that you think we should talk about with Erik before we wrap up?
I was curious just to tap Erik and see. I know this is oddball, but where do you think the events industry needs to go to minimize Zoom fatigue as a whole?
I think what we're going to see, again, I think it goes back to a lot of the steps that we're already thinking and talking about, but still everybody is trying to figure out, okay, we had an in-person thing that was going great, and then we had to pivot to virtual. And now that in-person is happening again more frequently and people are ready to, do that, and we've kind of got things under control to a point. In other words, pandemic's not over, but we've kind of learned to live with it over the past 2 to 3 years now. What it's going to come down to is uniquely creating experiences, both virtual and in person, whether they're separate or connected, but it's going to all be done, I think, through data. And really, again, like asking some of the questions, like, what's your primary learning stance? How do you best learn? Is it auditory? Is it visual? Is it reading? Is it, are you an extrovert? Are you an introvert? All those kinds of factors, capturing that data and being able to use that as we move forward allows event experience leaders to create experiences that matter more moving forward than the traditional event used to offer them.
Right. And just creating experiences and activities and things people can immerse themselves in that bridge that hybrid virtual in-person gap, and create atmospheres where they can engage together as people, like you said, right, in our various capacities.
Yep.
I am curious. I want to ask one more thing. How, in a hybrid environment, how can you have a live person interacting with a digital person consuming the digital content? Like, is that even a thing, or are these disparate worlds and you're serving two separate worlds?
I think that what we're going to see and have started to see examples of, so for example, FT Live and which is done by Financial Times, they just had an in-person event at the Kennedy Center earlier this week, and they had Elon Musk come in and talk. He beamed in. He wasn't there physically. He beamed in as a keynote talking about the future of cars, and it was scheduled for 90 minutes scheduled for 30 minutes, went for 90 minutes. And up until that point, you would have had to have had him come in physically and accommodate all of that. We're now more accustomed to the ability to get talent and resource more aligned and in this world, this digital world, to be able to really, and it's only just starting. It's only just starting. But think about that. Like, you wouldn't have considered having a keynoter on screen as video only up until very recently. And even now, I've seen it once or twice. That's it. And nothing on a grand scale, all small scale.
I'm going to take that a step further and give this to your higher ups over at Bizzabo. Tell them I want this in 2023. So one of my favorite events to go to is the Michael Jackson 1 show in Vegas. I've been there 2 times. And my favorite part is, obviously the great Michael Jackson is not here anymore, but my favorite part is, it's 90 minutes roughly. They could do all the songs, simulate the dancing, everything. But at the very end, and you have to see it, Michael Jackson is there as a hologram in the event. It is awesome. So my request for Bizzabo 2023 is take the Elon Musk
hologram
and give me in the event, okay, in the center of the event, do the hologram from the ceiling and have that person show up. That would be kick butt.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, I think we're going to have to add, some partner who can accommodate that into the Bizzabo app marketplace and just make it happen.
Not us right now, but hey, but that is pretty cool. But, also, I mean, not to get too dreamy, but think about an attendee here like this. What if your camera could create a 3D view and then you're at the event, but your seat is for a person and you're hologramming people in? I mean, pretty cool. But, hey, Elon Musk also thought, he'd make all these
back to Star Wars.
Yeah, there you go. Back to Star Wars. So, Erik, look, thank you so much for being a guest here. We really appreciate your time and your knowledge on the industry. And your singing is amazing. Gave me chills. So if people want to learn more about Bizzabo and the Event Experience OS, how can they get that information?
Yeah, I mean, I would just flat out start with going to bizzabo.com, bizzabo.com. Everything is there. You can click about us to learn more. There's tons of great stuff on the website, including the podcast that I do for them that I think some of you will be appearing on maybe sometime soon. So
that's awesome. Great.
Cool.
Okay.
All right, man. Well, thank you. And we really had a great time with you today. Thank you for joining us. Anybody if you want to learn more about Bizzabo, check that URL out. And Erik, thank you. I'm going to slide you off here. If you want more information on Bizzabo and the game of the month featuring Bizzabo with chances to win instant prizes and gift card rewards, catch us online at Captello/Events Squad Cast. Tune in to us monthly on the third Friday, usually, by following us at Captello on LinkedIn, where you can view recent and upcoming podcasts and get the latest news and tips on how to make your events an ROI crushing success every single time. Ryan?
All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day. Take care.